Jonathan was, I guess you'd say, one of life's good guys. He was really caring, really close family, that we had a very normal, happy life, lots of friends, lots of family interactions. A couple of years before he died, our only son, Harry, got diagnosed with cancer. Jonathan didn't cope well at all with the chemotherapy. 6-7 months later, once Harry got the initial all clear, that it kind of hit him what he'd missed out on in terms of the process of what he'd been through, and he started to feel a little bit anxious and guilty over his lack of involvement, and that kind of led to a bit of a depression. So he went on to antidepressants, and over a period of time that seemed to get a bit better, but he carried on taking the antidepressants. The main bit that led to him being sectioned was he went through a period of mania, which started very slowly. It was just acting a little bit out of character, wanting to go out a lot more, making a lot of new friends that you wouldn't necessarily have associated him with. It all kind of came to the head. I can't remember if it was the World Cup or the Euros, but there was a big football competition going on, and obviously our son, big into football, Jonathan is, we decided we'd have his mum and stepdad round, and we were all going to watch it together, but he never came home and chose to go out with some of these new friends. His mum had a chat with him, and he just came out with, at that point, I don't want to be married, I don't want a family, I'm going to go abroad, I'm going to go and move abroad, do something completely different, give up the job, sell the business. And we went to the doctors then, we got him to go to the doctors. Now, as it happened, this doctor decided that whilst it was unusual to have these thoughts, it wasn't too unusual that we needed to do anything further like be sectioned, to which his mother was like, it's definitely not normal this, I want a second opinion. And we managed to get a second opinion with a psychiatrist. He straight away said, absolutely, he's having a manic episode, he needs to be sectioned, and referred us to the local hospital, to the A&E department, because there were no beds available. His mum spoke to the crisis team at that point and explained that he now had said, and their report back was, right, well, we'll come and do a visit. They did a visit, basically said, he seems okay to us, we'll be back tomorrow. He'd said, I don't want you to come back tomorrow, I'm busy, can we do it as a phone call? They said yes, so they did it as a phone call the next day. They then said, we'll come and visit you the next couple of days. And he'd said, I'd rather have a phone call. So they said, right, that's fine, we'll do a phone call. And then, obviously 3 days later, he took his own life. That was the biggest mistake and the biggest downfall that I can't believe. We were begging that they resectioned him and took him in, because we could see how utterly depressed he was, that he didn't want to do anything. We had a dog, he'd stopped wanting to walk the dog. He'd refused to see Harry for a week, he just didn't want to see him anymore. So we knew it was really bad, but the answer was a phone call, which I just thought was obviously inadequate. The trust that were overseeing his care did an internal review, and then they produced a report, and it was that report that really felt to me highlighted a load of issues, and things where they'd said it was a slight issue, didn't put it down as a cause or anything like that, but when I was reading it and reading it with his mother, we were like, surely that's more than just a slight oversight, those are big issues. So they approached Forbes and asked them to have a look at the report and see if they actually thought there was any slight negligence in there, or whether we were just being that family that is really hurt and wants answers. We went forward with the case, not because we wanted some sort of financial reward or recompense or whatever. It was more that I wanted to be able to show Harry that his dad didn't take an easy way out or didn't give up, which I think a lot of people associate suicide with almost the person being a coward, or that they just can't face it anymore and they're taking the easy way out, which is absolutely the opposite. They can't see another way out. We wanted some sort of acknowledgement of responsibility an apology. Obviously with that does come the financial compensation side of it, which obviously I went from being happily married with a husband that had his own business to a single mum who then had to change working arrangements and all that type of thing. So yes, there is the financial side of it does come into it to a certain extent afterwards, but it was never the driving force. In a way, it was really good to know that actually an expert thought that if you had the right help and support, this wouldn't have happened. But obviously the flip side of that is there's a bit of anger there that actually it has happened when it didn't need to happen. It is a hard process, but I feel it was worth it, if only to get that apology. Forbes were brilliant from start to finish. Both, well, everyone you dealt with really, a really caring approach.